Some recovery tools and devices just give you a quick hit of relief. You feel it right away, like when you take a cold plunge, when you stretch, or even just a short nap. The results are obvious in the moment. Other tools, they work in the background. They're subtle. You might not notice anything in the first couple of sessions, but just after a few weeks, you suddenly realize you're less sore, your energy feels steadier, and your sleep is just more restorative. That's the category PEMF mats fall into. They're not flashy, there's no big adrenaline rush. You literally lie there while gentle magnetic pulses do the work. The companies that make these mats claim they can help you recover faster, reduce inflammation, improve circulation, give you more energy, and even help you sleep better. Now the question is, are these claims actually backed by anything substantial? Or is PEMF therapy just going to end up as yet another wellness fad that is just expensive, it sounds good, and doesn't actually deliver in practice? In this video, I'll be breaking down the potential benefits, the science, the possible drawbacks, as well as my own real-world results after using a PEMF mat consistently for several weeks. Now hear me out. We've all had those stretches in life when everything is going well, low stress levels, pure bliss. And then there are periods where it's just as if the universe has almost made it its duty to throw everything at you all at once. You're working long hours. Maybe your stress levels start to creep up. You're just not recovering as much and as well as you know you can. And then sometimes it's not even like you have any sort of nagging injury or anything. In fact, everything might feel just fine, but slowly, creeping in, you start to get low-grade inflammation. Almost like that analogy of the frog in the boiling water. You just don't notice the subtle ways in which your health and your vitality are just slowly degrading. And then fast forward now, it's been weeks, you're running on fumes. Next thing you know, you start to wake up feeling tired, but somehow you push through the day. And then you push through another day. And then all of a sudden, you're just pushing through days instead of thriving through life. Now, I've done my own fair share of experimentation. I've tried a lot of recovery tools, a lot of wellness tools. They all have their place, but PEMF stood out to me because the claims work around the fact that it's working with your body at a cellular level. So I bought a mid-range PEMF mat. I set a rule for myself to use it every single day. My goal was to keep things very consistent in my lifestyle, not making too many changes. So same training schedule, relatively the same nutrition, sleep routine, kept it the same way. Wanted to see if I would notice any changes that I could reasonably connect to the PEMF mat. Now most of my sessions were short, about 10 to 20 minutes. I usually did them actually in the afternoon, just to give myself a midday reset. So PEMF stands for Pulsed Electromagnetic Field Therapy. What that means in simple terms is that the mat sends gentle, low-frequency magnetic pulses through your body. These pulses are typically in the range of 0 to 30 hertz, which, by the way, is very low. It's non-ionizing, meaning it's not the kind of radiation that damages your DNA or anything like that. So when these pulses pass through your skin and tissues, they stimulate your cells, particularly the mitochondria. Those are like tiny batteries inside your cell that are responsible for producing ATP. And then ATP is like the energy currency your body uses every time you have a muscle contraction or just even for brain function. They can also act like a tune-up. It's a bit like taking your car in for regular maintenance instead of waiting for it to completely break down on you. The signal from the PEMF device encourages better blood flow, more efficient nutrient delivery, and it also has a subtle calming effect on your nervous system. Now, PEMF therapy is not new. It's been studied for decades. It's even FDA approved for certain issues like helping heal stubborn bone fractures that aren't mending on their own. That's a big deal because it means the technology has cleared a very high bar for safety and that also has proven results. Beyond that, research has shown that PEMF can increase microcirculation. That's blood flow through the tiniest vessels in your body. These microvessels are how oxygen, nutrients actually reach your joints, your muscles, and even your organs. In one of the most recent large-scale clinical trials I found, a 2024 randomized control trial followed 120 patients across 5 orthopedic clinics. Half of the patients received standard care and the other half received PEMF therapy. The PEMF group saw a 36% reduction in pain in just 2 weeks compared to only 10% in the standard care group. Even more impressive, they reduced their use of pain medication by about 50%, while the control group barely moved the needle. One interesting thing they did, they later had a control group switch over to PEMF. When they switched over, they saw an extra drop in pain, and that group also stopped using medication, which says a lot about the consistency of all these results. Now, in the first week, I'll be honest, I didn't notice much beyond feeling a little relaxed after each session, which is nice, but nothing groundbreaking. By the third week and beyond, I started to notice something that has less to do with muscle relaxation and a lot more to do with my mind. See, I've got a schedule where my day often feels like 2 separate rounds. Round 1 in the morning, then by mid-afternoon, I've got to somehow rally for round 2. And that's usually the point where I'll be reaching for another coffee or maybe a supplement like L-tyrosine. The problem, sometimes you don't need to hit the gas pedal, you actually need to hit the brakes. You need your mind to reset, clear out all the noise, which PEMF, that afternoon edge, I didn't have that extra urge to start taking caffeine in the afternoon. By the end of the testing period, I realized that PEMF wasn't giving me any artificial boost. It was actually making my recovery habits that I already had, like staying active, having solid nutrition, good sleep. All of these things work better in the background. So really it was about doing more to help my body and mind reset. Now let's talk about the pros and cons that I've noticed. On the plus side, PEMF is completely passive. I mean, you just lay there, let it do its thing. It has multiple potential benefits that can actually overlap. And unlike some wellness tools and fads out there, it's actually backed by actual clinical research. Now on the downside, quality devices are a little bit expensive. If you want one that's truly effective, you're usually looking at just over $1,000 to start off. And there's really no way around that. I always say this, but the results aren't instant. It can take weeks for most people to notice anything meaningful. And like a lot of things these days, the market is just crowded with underpowered devices that may not deliver enough magnetic field strength to make a difference. I think using PEMF reminds me a bit like a situation where you're upgrading the software in your phone or your laptop. The hardware is the same, but everything starts running smoother in the background once you make that update. The apps start to open faster, the battery lasts longer, and you're not constantly trying to force it to keep up with you. So maybe you've got everything dialed in. Or maybe you feel the same way I did. You always feel great and on in the first half of the day, but by the afternoon, you might rely on some type of supplement, or maybe you're just thinking about the long game. You're thinking about how to keep inflammation low, keep your joints moving well, and your energy levels high, so that you can keep doing the things that you love 10, 20 years from now. For me, PEMF fits this because it doesn't demand more time or more effort. And that's a running theme with a lot of wellness tools. You want to let the technology help you. So is PEMF therapy worth trying? I would say yes, but I think of it less as a hard yes or no question and more like asking, should you, again, with the same analogy, update your operating system? You know, it's like if what you're running right now works perfectly, then you're probably just better off without it. But if you want things to run smoother in the background, then I think it's worth considering. And honestly, sometimes it's really just about figuring out which tools actually work for you. Recovery and wellness is not a one-size-fits-all. It's about finding what fits your body, what fits your lifestyle, and what fits your goals. So if you're curious and interested in a full breakdown on PEMF therapy, I'll drop links below to my website, as well as some studies that I mentioned in this video. And also very soon, I'll be updating you on specific devices I've tried that I would also recommend based on whether they actually give you the results that are worth it. So have you tried PEMF therapy before? Maybe it's your first time hearing about this one. What did you notice? Share your experience in the comments or anything else you might be curious about. And if you want more grounded, research-backed reviews and real-world testing of recovery and wellness tools, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I've got more experiments and deep dives coming soon.